Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack, and today is the top 10 creations of the week. Basically, I just check out what people have been making throughout the week and choose some of the favorite ones. And also, at the end of the episode, you guys can see the fan mock submissions. Those are builds submitted by you guys, the viewers. If you want to send in your own fan mock creation, you can check out the link in the video description below, or the email in the video description below in which to send to. And anyways, without further ado, let's check out the very first build of the week, which is Tank Defense Mech by GolPlaysWithLego. I think what initially grabbed me about this build is the sort of simplicity mixed with quite a bit of intimidation. The sleek curves on the chest have a great look, and I also appreciate the sort of cylindrical legs along with the treaded feet. The Mon Calamari head, or maybe that's Admiral Akbar's head, is awesome that you can kind of see the alien pilot right in the top, and the build just does a good job in general with nice shapes mixed with a great stance. And this is actually pretty cool here with the sort of alternate mech build. I guess these are two different tank defense mechs. This next one here, number 9, is the Star Wars Brickheadz. I suppose we all saw this one coming, especially since the sort of standardized builds for the Brickheadz figures has been posted on a lot of different sites. Here we have 4 main characters with Luke, Han, Leia, and C-3PO. I'm sure R2 and Chewie are coming shortly after this one. But anyways, the style seems to be preserved really, really well. My 2 favorite characters are Han and Leia, and I think they're both my favorite just because of the great builds that we have going on for the hair. I say kudos to the builder for getting all those nice gold pieces for C-3PO, and it's pretty nice that the blaster rifles and lightsabers actually fit in very, very well for these chibi style builds. Anyways, I like them a lot, and I can't wait to see more of these guys popping up in the future. Now, the number 8 build technically is part of Freb Rovery with all the different rover builds that people have been making throughout the month, though I can't say that this one in particular really counts as a rover. I always thought they were sort of like quads or sort of treaded vehicles, but it looks like we've got this kind of classic space chopper. That's how I sort of describe it. The title is Spacehog, Spacehog, Spacehog by Brian Grissom. There isn't really a whole lot to say about the build style. You can see every single part that made up this motorcycle, but I gotta say that awesome use for the angled fork in the front is really the start and finish for this build. I think it's a great look, and it also seems to have quite a bit of utility on a rough terrain. Benny seems to be having a great time, and yeah, I think it's just a great little motorcycle build. Let's move on. Number 7 brings us to a much smaller build. Well, at least in perceived scale, this is Kazum'dar Castle by Sunder 59. This is about as small as a micro build can get before you really start to sacrifice a lot of details. I think quite a bit of nice detail was still preserved here. We have a lot of quaint houses on the outskirts of a much larger fortress. You might appreciate what some of the pieces are that are used to create some of the trees. And generally, I like the sort of color distribution used for the rooftops here on the sides. In the front, we have some nice looking windmills that are right outside of the front gates. And then, of course, some much larger structures and maybe churches or town hall meeting houses or something, much bigger buildings on the inner walls, and then an even larger, possibly the King's Palace on the innermost fortified wall. The molded bricks used on the actual outside fortress walls that make up the sides and the towers do a surprisingly good job of conveying a lot of detail in such a small space. And maybe this is the darker side of me talking, but I think this could also work really well if we had some custom-made minifigures to end up creating a sort of Attack on Titan mock, but that's just my own personal projection. Anyways, this is a wonderful build. Let's move down to number 6. And well, speaking of personal biases, the concept bike by Robert Heim is, well, the second bike we already have in our top 10 list, which I'm pretty much notorious for putting in here all the time, but wow, this is a wonderful looking build. LEGO has been playing around with using just the all white conceptual designs, like for the architecture and things like that, but this is the first time I'm really seeing it kind of pop out with a bike. And yeah, this really does look great because it is conveying a new sort of conceptual design for what a motorcycle could possibly have in the future, which is the sort of open space on the wheels, allowing for, at least in this case, storage compartments for different bags or something. I don't know how feasible of an idea this is, but it really does look excellent, and it absolutely embodies the idea of what a concept bike is, really, adding a new idea to a sort of pre-existing invention or machine. Also, the sleek curves that make up this machine in general look awesome. It's kind of like a combination between a Ninja and maybe the Tron bike or something. And one more thing I like about it is that underside piece that's used. I think that is the side arm plate of what you can find on like a Stormtrooper buildable fig. Anyways, great design by Robert Heim, and let's move down to number 5. This build is called Original Batman and Robin by the builder Red, but really this is if your eye is trained for it, this is a pretty famous shot from the 1960s Batman TV series, and we have Robin and Batman scaling a wall with a rope. And what I love about this build is that it's highly accurate and very much kind of like a meta build, because this effect that was made back in the 1960s very, very cheaply was of course tilting the camera on the side and having the actors just looking like they're climbing up the side of the wall when instead they're just standing on a board that looks like the side of a building. And of course the same effect was achieved the exact same way to get this shot here. Everything of course is just a flat build with our characters just looking like they're climbing up the wall. Both in the original shot and in this build, you can see that the capes aren't hanging backwards because gravity isn't pulling them back. They're just hanging down their backs. Anyways, I thought that using that sort of 90-degree camera tilt for both the original shot and for the build that is imitating it was a fun little homage. And anyways, let's move down to number 4. And interestingly enough, number 4 is actually called Jedi Search 5 out of 5, the Master. And 5 out of 5 being the 5th build of 5 different sort of in-between the scenes or creative liberty scenes taken by the builder Inthert. And this is one scene that is depicting Master Luke Skywalker training possibly his first group of young Padawans on the planet of Yavin 4. Aside from my biases of just absolutely loving this concept for creating a training scene with Luke Skywalker within the Star Wars universe, there are some great things to appreciate about the build itself, specifically the wall build for the ruin that is hanging over in the archway there. And then look at these trees. Remember, this is an alien planet, and you can have a little bit of creative liberty, of course, as to how your trees are going to look, but the twisting motion that we get from all of these socketed pieces ends up creating a lot of nice detail. Just those open studs actually look really cool and weird and sort of alien-like. Jumping on down to number 3, this is a build that I know a lot of people have been paying attention to this last week. The title is Ace, the Chemical Place by Tim Lydy. The Red Hood figure from the LEGO Batman collectible series is relatively new, and here is a custom build that is sort of perfect, well, absolutely perfect, for the creation of the Joker. Presumably moments after this scene that we're looking at right now is when Red Hood falls into one of these vats of acid, and that is what permanently warps the mind of this criminal, eventually turning him into the classically known Joker. Excellent builds that make up the actual acid in the vat. You can see those are just a ton of little trans green tiles that are all stacked on top of each other and kind of spiraled around to really fill up that space. It gives you a great idea sort of depth, and maybe that the vat liquid is maybe swirling around a little bit. Anyways, it's a very unique way to create sort of what could very easily have been made into a flat tiled surface, but I think the extra effort really goes a long way. Also, everything else about this build looks really cool too. Speaking of number 2, segue, we've got something by Grandmasters, and it is titled Skate or Die. The feud between Alien and Predator has been a very long one, and hopefully it's not over. I know there's a lot of new cool Alien stuff coming out with Ridley Scott, but anyways, this is a great sort of summation between, this is a great interpretation of bringing that feud to just a bit more of a fun and creative place. Looks like these guys could be best buds, just sort of skating down what looks like a kind of decrepit street alley or something, and both the Xenomorph and Predator body have been kind of scaled and stylized to fit in with this particular backdrop, and it just makes these characters seem a lot more fun, and I really do wish that we had this picture of the build in a few more angles, but I digress. Let's move on to numero uno. Number 1 on my list for this week was Thunderjaw by Marius Herrmann. I actually wanted to choose this build before I even knew it belonged to a particular computer game or video game called Horizon Zero Dawn, And after I saw a quick video on what the heck this thing is supposed to do within the game, I developed an even bigger appreciation for this build, because wow did they get the look of this creature just right. This isn't the first time we've had LEGO builders imitating the sort of mechanical animals coming out of this game, but I think this is the best interpretation I've seen from any of the creatures so far, because not only is it incredibly intimidating, it's got wonderful mechanical detailing, but it also happens to look extremely organic. The poses that this creature has still holds a lot of energy, and that is an aspect of the build that I think is often overlooked. A lot of technical outside detailing is what can be most easily appreciated right on the surface, but here the angles and just the balance of the creature itself just feels real. It feels like there's sort of an animal inside of this gigantic set of metal plates and weapons. Anyways, it's an absolutely excellent build, totally blown away by it, and I think that is it for the top 10, so let's check out the fan creations of the week. Remember, if you want to submit your own fan creations, you can just email us at brickfanmocs@gmail.com, and boom, they'll be appearing on the screen just like these guys. All right, anyways, thanks a lot for watching. Check out the fan mocks, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.